Hey everyone, Korzik here. Welcome to another bonus episode of Let's Play Ys II Chronicles Plus for the PC. In the last episode, I finished exploring the Rasteenie Mine and played all the way up through the end of the Ice Ridge of Noltia. So that's what this bonus episode will be covering, anything optional that I didn't go over during the course of the main playthrough within that time frame. But before I get to that stuff, I first want to go over a couple of things that I forgot to mention in the last bonus episode. And the first of these is this diary here. So, the diary is an exclusive feature of the Eternal and Complete versions of the game. And what it contains is a complete character database of all the NPCs that you've met so far, a complete bestiary database of all the enemies you've killed, and also a record of Adol's adventure. So, the character and bestiary databases, those are not unique to the Eternal and Complete versions. They are still in Chronicles and Plus, but there are a couple of differences, and the major one being is that in Eternal and Complete, you can fill those databases across multiple playthroughs, whereas in Chronicles and Plus, you need to restart them from scratch every time you begin a new game. The other difference is pretty minor, but it lists these entries by location. So, let's take the boss of the Ice Ridge of Noltia, for example, Tiamat. In Eternal and Complete, you would find his entry along with the other Ice Ridge enemies. But in Chronicles and Plus, he would be listed with the other bosses of the game at the very end of the note section. But anyways, the really interesting feature of the diary is this record of Adol's adventure here. And what this is, it's basically a recap of Adol's adventure through Ys II. I do want to mention that this is not available in Ys I, which is kind of a shame, but yeah, so this touches on all of the major plot points in Ys II. So, if you ever forgotten the story thus far, you can always come and load up the diary and read up on it again. So, in total, there are 51 entries to this, I believe, and most of them just come naturally as you play the game, but there are a few optional ones, such as when I went to the goddesses statues to get hints. Those will also be recorded. But yeah, by and large, this is pretty nice. Especially if maybe you've forgotten some of the details, like let's say for instance that you forgot the ingredients that you need to cure Lilia. So you can load up the diary, read up, and find that you need a rhoda fruit and a salsetta flower. So yeah, this is a pretty neat feature, I think. And as you can see here, this is in Japanese right now. But as I mentioned before, or at least I think I have, there is a translation patch floating about for the complete versions of these games, and that means that this record here is also translated. So it's not strictly in Japanese. So yeah, pretty neat feature. But for whatever reason, they removed this from Chronicles and Plus. And yeah, it's just for Ys II, so a shame that they removed it, but what can you do? Something else that I forgot to mention is that in Ys II, you can feed the various animals throughout the game. Not all of them, but most of them you can. And one such example of this are these ducks here wandering around behind the clinic in Lance Village. So, just like with the other NPCs, you equip the item that you want to give to them and approach. Unlike the villagers though, the animals are a bit pickier about what you can and can't give to them. the animals will only take 2 different kinds of items, and which items these are depends on the animal. So for the ducks, you can give them apples, or you can give them an item that we have yet to obtain called crewberries. It doesn't really matter which of the 2 items you give to an animal, they'll react basically the same way regardless. So even though we don't have crewberries at the moment, let's go ahead and feed them apples. So yeah, something nice you can do. There's really not much point to it, although I will say that there is a Steam achievement for feeding the animals of a certain village later on, but I'll talk more about that when we get there. But aside from that, there's not really much point, just something to do if you want to be nice to the animals or if you're feeling bored or whatever. Regarding the ducks, I will say that while you can give them apples or crewberries, you can't use this in order to get the hidden 500 gold stash that Brody tells you about from them. You can't do that prematurely by feeding them an apple and expecting the gold to pop out. It doesn't work, unfortunately, so there's no getting around having to butter Brody up a bit, unfortunately. Another animal you can feed are cats, and what you can give cats are either the smoked meat or the raw meat. The raw meat I don't have at the moment. You can get that a little bit later on, but for the time being, we don't have access to it. As far as the meat pie, while it technically is a meat item, the cats won't eat it, just either the smoked meat or the raw meat. So let's give this kitty some smoked meat. So you got the one cat below the armory, and there is another one inside the elder's residence. So I'm going to pick up another smoked meat. We can only carry one at a time, and we'll go feed the other cat. The elder's residence is this house here. And the cat is over here. So, yeah, like I mentioned, not much point to doing this. Just something to do for fun, I guess. But like I said, you can't feed all of the animals, and a couple examples of this are the pigeons in the clinic's pigeon loft, and also the pickards. As far as I know, they won't take anything you have. So, the ducks and the cats will, as well as a couple of other animals later on, but the pigeons and the pickards will not. So that's a bit unfortunate, but like I said, it's just something to do for fun, so not much point. I'm going to get one more smoked meat because I want to try and give it back to Theo here, and this will produce some rather amusing dialogue. So let's do that. Yep. And he recognizes it as the item he just gave to us. So, get this dialogue here. What you can also do, though, is you can try to give him the meat pie. Because, if you remember, his sister, Lucy, is the one that gave it to us. So, let's see what he thinks about us having his sister's cooking in our possession. Yep, it sure is. Oh dear. So, yeah, what Theo's talking about here, Lucy proposing to us, I didn't show it off, but after getting the meat pie from Lucy, if you give her 1 or 2 more items, she will ask Adel to marry her. So, yep, that's what Theo here is referring to. Speaking of Lucy, we have the meat pie that she gave to us. So let's see what happens when we try to give it back to her. Oh, okay. So, not as humorous as Theo. And speaking of the smoked meat, while you can give that to Lucy, even though it's from her brother, she won't have any special dialogue about it. She will take it. So, yep, that's unfortunate, but you get the 1 dialogue from the meat pie, so that's something. Anyways, let's get to the rest of the bonus content now. The first of these is Gls Basement. So I've already explored down there, returned the book to Priest Fact. So if you want to, after finding out that yes, there are demons down there, you can tell it to Lucille here. We can't just leave them though. We should do something about it. And if you remember, Gila also says pretty much the same thing. So he requests us to take care of it for him. Oh, fine. May as well. So, I mentioned this in the main playthrough, but I didn't actually clear out the basement. But you can do this at any point in the game, or you can do it not at all. Completely up to you. I do recommend doing it though, because it is a good source of experience, at least at this point in the game. And this file, by the way, is just ready to enter the Ice Ridge of Noltia. So you can do this later if you want to, but I feel it's less beneficial because the enemies won't give you quite as much EXP, but there is a fixed reward for doing this. And the equipment setup I recommend for this side quest is having the Talwar on hand. You can do this with the long sword, or heck, even the short sword if you want to, but the Talwar is obviously going to make things quicker. And what you want to do is you want to kill 60 of these enemies. Easiest way to do it is to you can lure enemies out of the hole and then climb back up the stairs here and blast them. That's a really cheap way of doing things. You can also climb up on the wine barrel here, and in both those instances you can be relatively safe. It's not a foolproof strategy, but that's the easiest way of doing it. Or you can just stand down here and shoot fireballs until they're not hitting anything any longer. But to complete the side quest, you need to clear this screen and the adjoining Sanctuary of Toll screen. So on this first screen here, you want to kill 60 enemies. That may not be an exact number, but it's close enough. And to do that, you will need to refresh the enemies, because there's only like 15 normally, so you want to kill the ones that are on screen, go far enough on the screen to make them respawn, and keep on killing them. The real danger here are these headless armor enemies. They are the strongest ones in the area, and as you saw during the main episode, they are a little bit fast, and they hit pretty hard too, so you definitely want to watch out for them. So Like I said, on this first screen you have 60 enemies, but it can in fact be more than that if you decide to kill 50, let's say, and then you refresh the screen. So as I said, there are maybe 15 enemies on the screen, and they all refresh if you refresh the screen. So you want to stay here until they are all clear. So we have a few more to kill. Should be getting close here. Okay, so after you kill enough enemies, you get this message saying that the demons in the immediate area, there's no more of them. But you can still sense more in the sanctuary beyond. So let's go there, kill this enemy, and this one. And once you do that, you get a message saying that the screen is clear. No more demons around here. And with that, you get a fixed 400 EXP as a side quest reward, I guess. So, yeah, very, very handy at this point in the game. I suppose if you wanted to, you could save this until the end of the game, and I personally don't feel it's worth it, but because the side quest reward is a fixed amount, that means that it doesn't scale. So the EXP you get from killing the enemies, that does scale, but the side quest reward itself is a fixed amount of 400, so that's pretty handy, I guess. But like I said, I do recommend doing this as soon as you can, because I feel like that's when it's the most helpful. Regarding this screen here, you saw I just only killed the 2 enemies here and it was clear. If you try to clear this screen first rather than the other one, it is possible to clear this screen first, but I think you have to have made a significant amount of kills on the previous screen, like say maybe 50, 55, before you can clear the screen. So it doesn't really matter, but if for some bizarre reason you want to clear the screen first, that's what you gotta do. But anyways, the basement's clear. Let's go inform Gila. We don't need to do this, but hey, why not? So he invites us back over if we ever feel the need. And something funny to mention is if you gift him, he says a similar thing to like, well, you can live here if you want to, and Adel just has the little sweat drop animation. It's pretty amusing. Someone else that comments on it is Lucille. And she says that she can no longer sense the demons down there, so they must be gone, I guess. Another villager, she comments on it too. Yes, I did. So this particular villager will have some slightly different dialogue if you do this after you learn about Lilia's disappearance midway through the Ice Ridge. So she'll have some unique dialogue both before you clear the basement at that point and afterwards. She'll be like, oh great, there's demon noises coming from beneath the village, and on top of that, Lilia's gone missing. So She'll still complain about Lilia going missing once that happens, but if you're interested in some small, unique dialogue from her, then you can talk to her then. And this guy here also comments on it. Some kind of bell, huh? This bell? Okay, I should stop teasing him. Alright. Next. This file here. I have not sold the iron ore just yet. So, I mentioned this in the main playthrough, but if you hold off on selling the first piece of iron ore until after you enter the Ice Ridge, after you view this scene here, if you go back to the armor smith at this point, you can sell the iron ore to him for 6,000 gold rather than 3,000. This only works if you have not sold any iron ore whatsoever just yet, because there are 2 pieces you can sell. But if you've already sold the first piece for 3,000 gold, then 3,000 is all you'll ever get. But after you view that cutscene there, you can go back to Lance Village, into the weapon and armor shop, and provided you haven't sold it just yet, he will up his offer to 6,000 gold. So, very, very handy. So yeah, he has had to double his prices just to get by. So, sucks for him, but good for us. So, what you can use this for is you can use it to get some good armor at this point. After you sell it to him, you get, you not only are able to purchase the large shield for 6,000 gold, the strongest shield you can get at this point, but the body armors, after you do a couple of screen refreshes inside Lance Village, aside from the armor shop, I mean, then you get to buy the second and third tier of body armor. And while you probably won't be able to buy both the third sets of armor at this point in the game, you can definitely buy the second set. So that's good enough for the Ice Ridge at least. Speaking of the second piece of iron ore, if you search this box again, there is another piece. So you can get 2 pieces of it. So, just like, so with the iron ore, well, you can get 6,000 for the first piece of iron ore that you sell to Guido. You can only get 3,000 for the second piece. There is no way to get him to up his offer on any subsequent pieces that you sell to him. You can only get 6,000 for the first piece. That said, that comes out to 9,000 potential extra gold, and that is very, very handy. So, definitely put that to good use. Next, if you remember, I picked up the altar magic in the Ice Ridge of Noltia, and what this does is it lets you talk to demons. It turns you into a Rue, and most demons mistake you as one of their own. But what you can also do is you can talk to NPCs like this. And not only do the demons think you are one of them, most of the NPCs do as well. So they typically have something like this. They react this way to you. Some of them, though, they recognize you for what you are, which is a rue. So we'll get into what rues are in the next episode, but they're basically peaceful creatures. And some of the villagers wise up to that fact that you're not actually a demon. So the elder here says that a rue is usually a good sign. So there are all sorts of reactions that you can do, and this girl has one of the more amusing ones, where she decks you. So she doesn't have any fear. A couple other amusing reactions are from this nurse here. Sounds good to me. And also Dr. Flare. Uh-oh, this might have been a bad idea. Yep, definitely a bad idea. So he lectures us that we need to eat better. And if you talk to him again, he feels the need to clarify. No, not humans. So, yeah, all sorts of amusing reactions that you can get from the villagers. So, definitely play around with it a bit. Next, after you defeat the boss of the Ice Ridge, Tiamat, there is actually a hidden passage. If you look at the top of the screen, do you see that up at the top here? That looks like a treasure chest. So, how do we reach it? You come over here, and there is a secret passage here. I should mention that this secret passage is not available until after you defeat the boss. So, you do need to do that first. Open it, and it contains a stash of 1,000 gold. So, pretty handy. Altogether, that is 10,000 extra gold that you can have up to this point. So, personally, I don't feel the need to grab this during the main playthrough. I should have what I need, but yeah, if you need some extra spending money, there you go. The final thing to mention is some mascots. There's not any unique mascots from the end of the mines up through the Ice Ridge of Noltia, but I do want to touch on how to get the mascots for the enemies. So, right down here, you have this zombie from the ruins of Mundoria. This, whatever it is, and all sorts of enemies. And the way you get the enemy mascots is you need to fully learn their stats. So, to do this, you need the bestiary potion to drink it, and make sure that there's no more question mark stats to fill out. So, in this particular playthrough, I don't think I have actually fully gotten any enemy stats. That said, the mascots, they do carry over from playthrough to playthrough. So once you get a mascot, you will always have it. So that's how I got these enemies so far. So, the way to learn an enemy stat is really simple, at least in Chronicles and Plus, and that is you kill an enemy 5 times. I think it's actually 6 times for the first stat, and you'll learn a stat. So, altogether, you will need to kill an enemy 31 times to fully learn all of its information. But that's just for Chronicles and Plus. For Eternal and Complete, it's a little bit different. In Eternal and Complete, they randomized how many enemies you need to kill. You may need to kill just one enemy for one stat, or you may need to kill, not even joking here, 50 enemies to learn one stat. So, fortunately, it's a lot easier in Chronicles and Plus because it's 5 kills every time, with the exception of learning the first stat, which you need 6 kills, which I think accounts for learning their names too. But in Eternal and Complete, the only way you can learn their strength stat is by letting them attack you. So, in Chronicles and Plus, you get a random stat, and strength is included, but not so in Eternal and Complete. Any other stat, aside from strength and defense, is random, but for the strength stat, in Eternal and Complete, you need to let an enemy damage you a random number of times. Speaking of the defense stat, again, this only applies to Eternal and Complete. You need to attack an enemy a certain number of times. You don't even necessarily need to kill him. But for the other stats, you just need to keep on killing them and hope that the RNG is nice to you and it reveals a stat. But by and large, it's much easier to obtain these enemy mascots in Chronicles and Plus than it is in Eternal and Complete. But if you wanted to know how to get them, that is how. Anyway, that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching.